I want to ask you something honest. How much money have you spent on flowers this year? Annuals, bedding plants, flats from the nursery, all those petunias and marigolds that looked amazing in April and were completely dead by August? Now multiply that by 10 years. That's a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of wasted effort. And here is the thing. I used to do exactly the same thing. Every spring, I'd load up the truck, spend a few $100 at the garden center, plant everything over a weekend, and then watch it slowly fall apart through the heat of summer. The day I switched to perennials, the right perennials, the ones built specifically to bloom through summer heat, everything changed. My garden looks better. I spend less money. I spend less time on it. And the wildlife on this homestead, hummingbirds, butterflies, bees, I've got more than ever before. Today, I'm giving you my personal list of 10 perennial flowers that will completely change the way you think about your garden. And I'm saving the absolute best for last. Stick with me all the way to number 1. Perennials come back every year, get bigger and better with age, and the right ones bloom from early summer all the way through frost. You're building something permanent, something that increases in value every single season. Every plant on this list was chosen for summer bloom power, low maintenance nature, pollinator value, and practical usefulness on a working homestead. Let's go. Number 10, Russian sage. Tall, airy spikes of lavender blue flowers rising 4 to 5 feet above silvery gray foliage. Russian sage blooms from midsummer all the way through fall, July through October, with almost no help from you. One of the most drought-tolerant flowering perennials available. Once established, it handles weeks without rain and still looks stunning. For homesteaders in dry climates, the Mountain West, the Southern Plains, this plant is practically a miracle. It's deer-resistant, fragrant, and exceptional for late-season pollinators. Bees absolutely love it. Cut it back hard in early spring, down to 6 inches, and it comes back more vigorous every year. Zones 4 to 9, full sun, extremely drought-tolerant. Number 9, Veronicastrum. 4 to 6 feet tall, sending up elegant candelabra-like spikes of white or pale lavender flowers in midsummer. The architectural structure alone makes it worth growing, and it's completely native to North America. It blooms in July and August, exactly when many perennials take a break, a critical summer blooming native that supports specialist bees and swallowtail butterflies. It supports a wide range of beneficial insects. It tolerates part shade and works beautifully in rain gardens and low spots where other plants struggle. Zones 3-8, part to full sun. Number 8, yarrow. Flat-topped clusters in shades of white, yellow, pink, and red. Blooms from early summer through fall, pushing flush after flush if you deadhead regularly. What makes yarrow especially valuable on a homestead? It's medicinal, one of the longest documented histories of herbal use of any plant in the world. Wound care, fever reduction, digestive support for thousands of years. Beyond that, the flat open flowers are landing platforms for insects. Landing platforms for parasitic wasps, hoverflies, and beneficial predatory beetles, the insects that keep aphid and pest populations under control. Grow it near your vegetable garden, and you will see a direct reduction in pest pressure. The flowers also dry beautifully for arrangements. Zones 3-9. Full sun to part shade, medicinal, functional, dependable. Number 7, Gaillardia. Bold, fiery combinations of red, orange, and yellow. This flower is rich, warm, and impossible to ignore. What sets Gaillardia apart is blooming endurance. It starts in late spring and does not stop until hard frost. No other perennial on this list beats it for sheer duration of bloom. It thrives in hot, dry conditions. Sandy soil, rocky soil, clay soil. Deadhead it regularly. Give it full sun, make sure the soil drains well. The only thing that kills Gaillardia is wet feet in winter. Zones 3-10, full sun, drought tolerant. Number 6, Liatris. Tall, dense spikes of magenta purple blooming from the top downward, unusual in the plant world, through July and into August. For homesteaders interested in wildlife, Liatris is a monarch butterfly magnet. During fall migration, monarchs actively seek it out for nectar. Plant a stand and you can realistically expect monarchs on your property every single year. It grows from inexpensive corms that multiply steadily over time, is completely drought tolerant once established. In winter, the seed heads attract goldfinches and chickadees. Combined with yellow perennials like black-eyed Susans, the purple-gold contrast is classic native prairie. Absolutely stunning. Zones 3-9, full sun, an absolute must. Number 5, Crocosmia. Arching stems with dozens of tubular flowers in blazing red, orange, and yellow. Lucifer, the most famous variety, is a deep scarlet red that is simply breathtaking. It blooms in midsummer. It is the single best perennial you can plant for attracting hummingbirds. If you want hummingbirds on your property all summer, plant crocosmia. Plant a lot of it. It grows from corms, forms expanding clumps, and in zones 6 and above returns reliably year after year. The long iris-like foliage gives you structure and texture from spring onward. Zones 5-9, full sun to part shade. Number 4, Baptisia. Slow to establish, 2 to 3 years to hit its stride, but once it does, essentially immortal. Archival-style illustration of a large, decades-old Baptisia plant. Hand-drawn labels, 30-plus years, rock solid. Sketchy parchment feel. An enormous taproot makes it incredibly drought-tolerant and rock-solid in the landscape. In late spring, Baptisia sends up beautiful spikes of pea-like flowers. Pea-like flowers in blue, purple, white, or yellow. After blooming, it becomes a handsome blue-green foliage plant for the rest of the season. In fall, inflated seed pods turn black and rattle in the wind. It's a nitrogen fixer. It improves your soil over time. Native, deer-resistant, supports specialist native bees, and requires no division, no staking, no fussing. A slow burn, long-term winner. Zones 3-9, full sun, a slow burn, long-term winner. Number 3, penstemon. The plant, I believe, is the single most valuable, most beautiful, most underutilized flowering plant available to American homesteaders. Penstemon, the native beard tongues of North America. Most gardeners have never heard of penstemon or think of it as finicky. They couldn't be more wrong. There are over 270 species native to North America, more native species than almost any other genus on this continent. There is a penstemon for every region: the desert Southwest, the Rocky Mountains, the Pacific Northwest, the Midwest Prairie, the humid Southeast. Tubular, snapdragon-like flowers in scarlet, purple, blue, pink, and white from late spring through summer, shaped by evolution to serve as primary feeding flowers for hummingbirds and specialist native bees. Red-flowered species like Penstemon barbatus are among the most important hummingbird plants in the American West. Blue and purple species like Penstemon strictus and Penstemon digitalis support extraordinary native bee diversity. Penstemon strictus thrives in sandy, rocky, nutrient-poor soil with almost no water. Penstemon digitalis handles humid eastern conditions and tolerates clay soil better than almost any other perennial. Seek out native species at native plant nurseries. Full sun, well-draining soil, just enough water to establish in year 1. Then watch hummingbirds arrive like clockwork every summer. Zones vary by species. Tough, beautiful, native. Number 2, Helenium. Masses of daisy-like flowers with distinctive downward curved petals in burnt orange, brick red, copper, and yellow. They look like autumn in plant form, blooming from late summer through fall, July through October, making it a critical resource for pollinators preparing for winter, especially bumblebee queens building reserves before hibernation, and is a critical nectar source for monarch butterflies on fall migration, and is visited by an extraordinary range of butterflies and beetles. It returns reliably every year and can be divided every 3 to 4 years to expand your planting. Zones 3-8, full sun, average to moist soil, native, spectacular. Here we are. Number 1. Joe Pye weed, Eutrochium purpureum, is a Native American giant reaching 6 to 8 feet tall, producing enormous domed clusters of dusty pink to mauve flowers from midsummer into fall, one of the most dramatic native plants in existence. More importantly, it is a wildlife powerhouse. Joe Pye weed supports over 40 species of native bees, is a critical nectar source for monarch butterflies on fall migration, and is visited by an extraordinary range of butterflies and beetles. If you are serious about building a functioning, healthy ecosystem, the kind that controls pests naturally, supports food production, and maintains itself, Joe Pye weed is one of the single most important plants you can establish. It prefers moist soil and tolerates part shade, making it excellent for low spots near ponds, along stream banks, and rain gardens. Yes, it's tall. Yes, it takes up space. On a homestead, that's not a problem, it's an asset. Use it at property boundaries, along fence lines, or as a natural privacy screen. It provides summer habitat for beneficial insects, nesting structure, and winter food for birds. It earns every square foot it occupies. That is what homesteading is really about. Not just producing food and flowers, but building something that works in harmony with the land. Plant Joe Pye weed. Give it room. Watch what arrives. Zones 4 to 9. Part to full sun. Moist to average soil. If this video helped you, hit like and subscribe. More homestead content is coming. Drop a comment. Which of these perennials are you most excited to add to your property? I'll respond. Until next time, keep building, keep planting, keep growing.